Next up, we've been going around through this whole elements of content. The next part of content we're going to look at is content in terms of business to business. Business to business is often wildly overlooked in social media. People say, oh, social media is great for Coca-Cola or an FMCG brand that's reaching a large, vast audience. In fact, social media is incredibly powerful when you're reaching out to a B2B audience. This is a person who is in the process of buying something or about to get something. And by the way, B2B does not exist, business to business. It's always a person involved in it, and that person is involved in a purchase decision that might take their company a long time to make, and there's a lot of moments when you can engage with them using social media. To talk about this, we have two people from LinkedIn. Ben Russell, who's a senior insights analyst for LinkedIn, is going to give a little research blast about social content and B2B, followed by Billy Sutensorn, who's the insights lead for APAC. So LinkedIn, take it on. Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas, and good morning, guys. I want to start by identifying or acknowledging the fact I'm a little bit unoriginal this morning. For those counting at home, I'm the third person in a blue shirt and tan pants. Apparently that's the look to go for at this particular event. I'm here today to talk about professional content consumption, though. Before I get into that, I want to take a step back and talk about social context. Because I think it's critically important that we understand what type of content works where, and why certain types of content are better geared towards certain social contexts and social platforms over other platforms. And in order to tell this story, I'm going to invite you all into my life for a couple of minutes and show you some of what I've been sharing across social platforms over the past few weeks in order to exemplify what we at LinkedIn like to call the mindset divide in action. So this is something I shared on Twitter with my followers a couple of weeks back. Cannot stop spinning, Aphex Twin's Syro, EDM at its finest. There's a few buzzwords in here I'll define for you. Aphex Twin's one of my favorite electronic musicians. Syro is a new album he recently released. I linked off platform from Twitter to one of my favorite music blogs, Pitchfork Media. When I shared this with my followers on Twitter, what was trending at the time back home in Australia was the NRL Grand Final, which is a major sporting event. One Direction Radio Party, which was a hashtag I was hitting pretty hard, but didn't want to show you guys that one because it's been embarrassing. And the Japanese Grand Prix. Very entertainment, pop culture focused, trending topics. That same week, I shared something on Facebook. It was a BuzzFeed article titled 41 Pictures That Will Take All Aussies Right Back to Their Childhoods. And it did a great job at that. This was a fantastic piece of content. I loved it. I shared it with the tagline, who remembers Pokemon? This will take you guys back. No judgment, because I know there's definitely some closet ex-Pokemon fans in here. All the cool kids are into it, so don't feel bad about it. I shared this with my friends on Facebook. What was trending at the time was The Vampire Diaries, San Francisco Giants, Gone Girl, Offspring, and the China Open. Once again, very entertainment, pop culture-focused trending topics. And this wasn't completely surprising. We know that when we're on personal social networks, we're in a nostalgic mindset. And this mindset dictates the type of content we're receptive to and go on to engage with. And this type of content and this mindset that we're in on personal social networks is markedly different to the content we're engaging with on professional social networks and the mindset that we're in. So that same week, I shared a piece of content on LinkedIn. Science confirms it, if you want to succeed, you have to screw up. I'll pause there so you guys can let out a sigh of relief. I know I did when I read that. It's okay to fail. Awesome news. I shared this with the tagline, we owe our success to the 100 times we've tried to master a skill and failed. This was a quote from this particular piece of content. When I shared this on LinkedIn, what was trending at the time was employee engagement, self-esteem, cloud computing, business intelligence, and design thinking. Very different types of trending topics, trending themes. We put this down to the fact that when we're on a professional social network, we're in an aspirational mindset. And similar to how that nostalgic mindset dictates the type of content we're receptive to and engage with on personal social networks, this aspirational mindset is driving what we're engaging with on professional social networks. And this is what we wanted to better understand. Why do we consume professional content? Why do we engage with professional content? Why are we sharing professional content? And so we did what we always do when we have a question at LinkedIn. We ran a piece of research. It was a global study called the Professional Content Consumption Report. And what I'm going to take you guys through today are results from Hong Kong and Singapore blended together to give us a bit of a view as to what's happening in the professional content consumption space here in this part of Asia. Yes, this is the revised version of my deck. Originally, that was not pointing to Singapore. Thank God. The first thing you guys need to be across is 67% of individuals in Hong Kong and Singapore have increased the amount of time they've spent consuming professionally relevant content over the past year. This is huge. We're investing more time than we ever have before into consuming this type of content. What this works out to be on a week-by-week basis is we're investing 8 to 9 hours every week into consuming professionally relevant content, the equivalent of an entire workday. And from a proportion of total time spent perspective, close to half of all the time we're investing online consuming content is being invested into professionally relevant content, 44%. 30% of the time we're investing online into consuming content is into news-related content. 26% into entertainment-related content. Obviously, there's a huge opportunity for brands and marketers here to be building professionally relevant content, because this is where the eyeballs are being directed, more so now than ever before. This is where we're increasingly spending more and more of our time. So the million-dollar question is why? Why are we investing more time than we ever have before into consuming professional content? And we put it down to the same reason why people are on platforms like LinkedIn to begin with. Professionals seek out transformation, professional accomplishment. Much like Akiko Yamashita. Akiko is a LinkedIn member. She's also a 3D visual artist. Akiko is at the peak of her career at the moment. She's doing something she's always dreamed about doing since she was a little girl. And LinkedIn helped her get there. We know that 60% of individuals in Hong Kong and Singapore state that consuming professional content was not only influential in guiding the trajectory of their professional careers, but was critical to their professional success. So we're consuming professional content because we identify the value proposition. We identify its ability to transform us, to elevate us, to accomplish. That's a very macro level idea. Day to day, what's motivating us to consume this content though? We bucket it into three main areas. We're consuming content to enhance our knowledge, to strengthen our networks, and to boost our personas. We're consuming professional content to keep up to date with industry news, discover new ideas within an industry, to stay well informed and up to date. Why are we doing that? It's great to be on your game, on your A game, it's great, but it also helps strengthen networks. We're consuming content to build relationships and spark conversations so that when we're at events like this, we've got something thoughtful, meaningful, and intelligent to say when we're trying to shape and influence individuals who we care about. And that ties into boosting personas. We're consuming content to build our professional reputation, to become thought leaders, and to improve our current job skills, to become more productive and more successful doing what we do every day. It's pretty clear to see why we're consuming professional content. How are we doing it though? On LinkedIn, it's increasingly happening on mobile devices. Close to half of our traffic globally is coming through mobile devices currently. We're expecting to hit our mobile moment, which is 50% global traffic through mobile, before the year is out. We've already hit our mobile moment close to home here in markets like Malaysia and Singapore. And this isn't a LinkedIn unique or specific thing, by the way. You talk to any social network that's cross-platform, and they'll tell you that mobile is increasingly becoming the way in which we're interfacing and engaging with social platforms and just the web in general. And so the implication for marketers and brands here is that you've got to be very thoughtful about how you're executing your strategies on mobile devices. If more often than not your content's going to be hit on a mobile device, you're going to want that experience to be memorable for the right reasons. So this is how and why we're consuming professional content. What about that next step? What we as social marketers crave? Engagement. What compels us to engage with this content? What compels us to hit share? Well, we asked individuals in Hong Kong and Singapore who are actively sharing professional content, what are your motivations for doing so? The top 3 reasons are to increase their visibility, to enhance their professional reputation, and to position themselves as thought leaders. And I want to touch on that middle one for a second, enhancing professional reputation, the #1 reason why individuals in these markets are sharing professional content. And it's interesting because we've known for a while that brands have the ability to shape and influence perception through thoughtful, relevant, always-on content marketing strategies and campaigns. What this revealed to us is that individuals in these markets think like brands. They think of themselves as their own brand managers. They turn to content, but not just content on social media as a means through which they can influence and impact their personal and professional brands. It illustrated to us that we're thinking much more sophisticatedly about how we're leveraging content on social media as individuals and professionals. So that's why we're sharing content. What type of content are we more likely to be sharing from a professional content perspective? We asked those who share content actively, what type of content are you more likely to share with your connections should you see it either on LinkedIn or off platform? They told us that new research, case studies, and breaking news were the top 3 types of shareable professional content. Now, ironically, this probably isn't breaking news to a lot of us in the room. This is pretty intuitive stuff. It's nice to be reminded of it. I do want to call out what's common about this type of content, because I think that's the key takeaway. That's the so what. New research and breaking news. This is timely. You could be the source of something new that your connections or professionals haven't seen before. That's going to position you in a certain way. New research and case studies, you're adding value. If you can be sharing a piece of content that one of your connections can take and present to their manager to make a business case, present to their team to position themselves within a certain way, within their own organizations, and that's going to position you as the source of that content in a certain way through their eyes as well. That's going to make you that thought leader. And you can apply that same logic as a brand. Brands that share thoughtful, relevant, insightful content can position themselves as thought leaders by adding value. 3 things I want to leave you guys with today. 3 things that came out of this research that you could go back to your companies and execute immediately. First of all, deliver content that enables professionals to enhance their professional brand. in a mobile-friendly manner. We know that individuals are sharing professional content to shape and influence their professional brands, help enable them to do so. And do it in a mobile-friendly way. I'm using the word friendly pretty loosely here because I'm quite passionate about the mobile experience. You've got to invest into this. More often than not, your content's going to be hit on a mobile device. Make sure that experience is memorable. Secondly, recognize professional content consumption's on the rise. 67% of people in Hong Kong and Singapore are investing more now than they did last year into consuming professionally relevant content. This isn't a trend that we expect to see change. Be always on and capitalize on who is engaging. I implore you guys to partner with the social networks you're currently using and leveraging and help them help you understand who's engaging with your content so that you can be a lot more thoughtful in what type of content you're putting in front of them. And lastly, activate your employees. Help position them as thought leaders to amplify your brand messaging and drive greater reach. Billy Santonson, the individual who's going to be speaking after me, is going to talk a little bit more on how to activate your employees, but I want to leave you with this top-line idea. I've been talking about professionals completely employer agnostically, but professionals are employees as well. They're your greatest asset. If you can enable your employees with quality content that they can share and position themselves in a certain way in front of their connections, and that content's branded, or that content lives on your brand's webpage, that's going to impact brand perception as well. Huge opportunity. And that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you very much for your attention. I very much appreciated it, and I look forward to seeing you after.